Take one government bond. Now watch what happens to it. A hedge fund buys it, then uses it as collateral to borrow cash overnight. The bank that lends the cash takes that same bond and uses it again somewhere else. A third institution receives it and uses it again. One asset, multiple transactions, multiple claims. This is not fraud. This is not illegal. This is how the system actually works. And it is one of the most important and least understood sources of hidden leverage in modern finance. Most people imagine collateral as something static. You give something valuable, and it stays there until the deal is done. One asset backs one transaction, one owner at a time, clean, contained, predictable. That model makes sense. It just doesn't exist in the system that actually runs global finance. In reality, collateral moves constantly. It doesn't sit, it circulates. The same bond that supports one transaction in the morning can be reused, transferred, and pledged again by afternoon. Ownership becomes less important than access, and possession becomes temporary. What looks like a stable foundation is often just the same asset moving fast enough that no one questions how many times it is being used. And the faster it moves, the harder it is to see. Here is how the chain starts. Institution A owns a government bond. It needs short-term cash, so it enters a repo agreement. The bond is posted as collateral. Institution B provides the cash and receives the bond. But Institution B doesn't stop there. It has its own funding needs. So it takes that same bond and reuses it as collateral in a new transaction with Institution C. Institution C may do the same again. The original asset now sits inside a chain of transactions, each one depending on the same underlying piece of collateral. Each balance sheet looks valid. Each claim is legally structured. Nothing appears broken, but the system is no longer using collateral. It is multiplying it. The International Monetary Fund has documented this effect. In normal conditions, a single unit of high-quality collateral can be reused multiple times, with an average reuse rate around 2.2 in parts of the global system. That means one asset can support more than twice its value in transactions. No new asset was created, only new claims. And at some point, even the institutions inside the chain stop knowing where it ends. Traditional leverage is visible. You borrow money, and that borrowing shows up somewhere. It can be measured, compared, and regulated. Collateral chains don't work like that. They create leverage without creating new assets and without concentrating the risk in one place. The same collateral supports multiple positions across different institutions, none of which fully see the entire chain they are part of. This makes the system look stronger than it actually is, because the same foundation is being stretched across multiple layers of activity, each one assuming that the collateral beneath it is stable, available, and retrievable on demand. Regulators can look at individual balance sheets and see acceptable numbers. But those numbers don't capture what is happening across the chain. The risk is real. It is just distributed, spread thin across institutions that each believe their position is sound. That assumption holds until someone in the chain needs it back at the same time. In 2008, this assumption broke. When Lehman Brothers failed, the problem was not limited to direct credit exposure. Institutions that had no direct relationship with Lehman suddenly found themselves unable to access collateral they believed they controlled. Lehman had been part of multiple collateral chains. When it failed, those chains broke. Assets that had been reused and repledged across the system became trapped, delayed, or legally uncertain. Institutions didn't just lose money, they lost access to assets they believed were theirs. The Federal Reserve later identified this as a key transmission mechanism of the crisis. It wasn't just losses spreading through the system. It was collateral becoming unavailable at the exact moment it was needed most. solvent institutions found themselves unable to fund normal operations, not because they had failed, but because the chain they depended on had broken somewhere they couldn't see. One failure, and suddenly, everyone in the chain is exposed. This mechanism isn't limited to crisis conditions. It exists in normal market structure, especially inside prime brokerage. When a hedge fund places assets with a prime broker, those assets are often not just held in custody. They can be reused, rehypothecated, entered into the broker's own funding operations without the client's ongoing knowledge. In the United Kingdom, there is historically no hard cap on how much of a client's assets a prime broker can rehypothecate. In the United States, the limit sits at 140% of the client's net debit balance, meaning a broker can pledge more than the client's full account value under certain interpretations. So your assets may not just be stored, they may already be in motion, used to secure transactions you never see, supporting positions you never approved, and circulating through chains that extend far beyond a single balance sheet. Most clients sign agreements that permit this without fully understanding it. The language is buried in standard documentation. In calm markets, it is invisible. Under stress, it becomes critical. Because when you need your assets returned, you may be waiting on a chain you never knew you were part of. Collateral chains are stable until they are not. In normal conditions, assets circulate smoothly. Funding flows, transactions clear. The system appears liquid and efficient. But when stress enters the system, behavior changes instantly. Institutions stop reusing collateral. They pull it back. They hold on to it. Because in a stress event, collateral is no longer just a tool for funding. It becomes a tool for survival. Because collateral only works when it keeps moving. And when everyone tries to pull collateral back at the same time, there isn't enough of it to go around. Chains break, transactions fail. Positions that depended on continuous collateral flow can no longer be financed. Assets are forced into the market at the worst possible moment by institutions that are not distressed, just suddenly unable to fund. Prices begin to fall not because value has changed, but because the structure supporting that value has stopped functioning. The system didn't run out of assets, it ran out of collateral flow. This is why collateral chains matter beyond technical detail. They increase the system's efficiency in calm conditions, but they also increase its fragility under stress, because the real level of leverage is no longer visible in any single place. It is distributed across the network, embedded in chains that cross multiple institutions, multiple jurisdictions, and multiple regulatory frameworks. The Bank for International Settlements has repeatedly flagged collateral reuse as a key amplifier of systemic stress. Not the originating cause of crises, but the mechanism that turns localized failure into system-wide dysfunction. When one node breaks, the disruption doesn't stay contained. It travels along the chain. This is how a local disruption becomes a system-wide event. One failure breaks a link. One broken link disrupts a chain, and that chain connects to others that connect to others still. What looked isolated becomes connected. What looked contained becomes systemic. And by the time it becomes visible, it has already spread. One asset, multiple claims, a chain that extends further than any single participant can fully see. This is not a flaw in the system. It is a feature. It keeps funding efficient, reduces costs, and allows capital to move at scale. But efficiency is not resilience. The same structure that makes the system flexible in calm conditions makes it fragile under stress. Because in this system, the same asset can support multiple positions simultaneously, right up until the moment it can't. And that moment doesn't announce itself. And when that moment arrives, the question is not who owns the asset. It is who can still access it. Because in modern finance, ownership is not the end of the story. It is often just the beginning of a much longer chain.